This is part 1 of September 19th lesson. I forgot to turn the recording on, so I recorded during class, and this is the first part that I did not get recorded. Today we are talking and learning about point-slope form. We have been learning about slope-intercept form. Point-slope form looks like this. Y minus y equals m times x minus x, where we'll be plugging in a value for this y, we'll be plugging in the slope for this m, and we'll be plugging in x for this x. What we've been working on is slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals the slope times x plus b, which is the y-intercept. And at a glance, in slope-intercept form, we can see the slope and the y-intercept. So basically, most of these forms are named by what you can see. At least these slope-intercept form and point-slope form, their names are descriptive. So if we're writing an equation in point-slope form, or if an equation has been written in point-slope form, then at a glance, you should be able to see, and you will be able to see the slope and a point on that line. Remembering that lines are made up of an infinite number of points, right? But this is just one point. You'll be able to see one point on the line. So in this example, y minus, where this is the y coordinate of a point. Remember, a point has an x and a y coordinate. So this would be the y coordinate of the point. So that point is 3. Looks like it would be a negative 3, but the form is y minus whatever the y coordinate is. So this is y minus a positive 3, which makes our y coordinate a positive 3. Our slope here is negative 4. So this is our y coordinate, this is our slope, and this positive 1, not negative 1, is our point, because this is written in standard form, x minus the x coordinate. It's x minus positive 1 is the way we have to think of that. So for example 1, the slope is pretty easy. At a glance, you can see the number on the outside of the parentheses. The point's got to be an ordered pair. So this is the y coordinate, it's minus a positive 4, so it goes in the y spot. Remember, this is the x, this is the y. X minus the x coordinate, minus a positive 5. Pretty straightforward. Doesn't look quite right though. It's confusing because it looks like we've been talking, the subtraction indicates a negative number, right? But it's because we're talking about this special form. It's pretty much the opposite of what it looks like. And this example will show you. So our slope is at this spot, so it's negative 3. So the slope, if we graph this line, this line has a slope that is a steepness of negative 3. And identifying our coordinate, or our point, this would be the y coordinate. But here's the trick. Our y coordinate, the only way to get a positive 6 here is if it's from this form, is if it's minus a negative 6. So the y coordinate isn't a positive 6 like it looks like. It's the opposite of that. It's negative 6. So this tells us that our y coordinate is negative 6. Same way with this one. If this is plus 5, that means it had to be minus a negative 5. So our x coordinate is negative 5. Okay. So we're moving on. If we're asked to write an equation of a line in a point-slope form through a given point, that means they give us a point and they give us the slope, all we have to do are fill in these blanks. Fill in the blanks here. You should be writing this in your notes if you're watching this to take your notes from. This is our standard, this is the blanks we filled in where that's a y coordinate, that's the slope, and that's the x coordinate, remember. So in this example, the slope goes in the slope spot. The x goes in the x spot. So the x goes closest to the x that's there. This is the x coordinate. It's closest to the x. This is a, not very legible, x coordinate, y coordinate. The y coordinate goes here, and we're done. That's the final version of our equation that goes through this point and has, that line has a slope of 5. That's the final answer. All right, so let's look at example 2a. The slope is -2. That part's always pretty simple. Now this is our x coordinate. It goes next to our x. It's a -5. Our y coordinate is a +3. We cannot leave this ugliness though. We have to rewrite it as y minus 3 equals -2 times x plus 5. That would be your final answer there. All right, moving on. To graph an equation in point slope form, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to determine the coordinates of one of the points given, or of the point given. Determine the coordinates of the point given, that's what it really should say, of the point given. Then we're going to plot that point, it's on the coordinates for. Then we're going to use the slope in rise over run form to plot other points on the line. And then finally we're just going to draw a line to the point. So I'm going through this pretty quick. If you're watching the video though, remember you can just pause it here. Okay, so let's start with step 1. Determine the coordinates of the point that's given. So they didn't give us a point. We have to be able to pull the point out of here. So we need an ordered pair. So if we're looking at this y, remember the only way to get a plus y is if that's minus a -1. So the y coordinate is -1. To get the x coordinate, this is x minus a +2. Remember, it looks the opposite for this kind of problem. So this is our point. We're going to plot that point. Starting at the origin, to plot the point 2, 1, we go right 2 and to -1 rather, and down -1. Now we use the slope in rise over run form where our slope is 3. Actually, we're going to determine the coordinates of the point given and the slope is what I told the kids in class. So we should do those at the same time. So now we have the slope. We plotted our point. Now we're going to turn our slope into rise over run form. If it's a fraction, it's already in rise over run form. If it's not a fraction, make it a fraction. This means we're going to go up 3 and to the right 1, and we're going to start at the point we already plotted. 1, 2, 3, to the right 1. I ask you guys to go all the way off the coordinate plane, so keep going until you can't go anymore. I've got all this spot though that has no points plotted, so remember we can use any version of, equivalent version of our slope. So now instead of +3 divided by +1, we could do -3 divided by -1. That simplifies to 3 as well. So that means we're going to go down 3 and to the left 1, and you'll see that those points are falling on the same line. Once we've gotten them all the way to the edge, we can't go any longer, making sure that we plot a line, not a point. And that's it. I don't think we did this example. I think we skipped it because we were running short on time. All right. To write an equation in point slope form. So if these are your directions on your homework, you're going to come back and look through your notes and look for this section. These are the steps to write the equation. If they give you a graph, to write the equation in point slope form of the line on the graph. So we're going to use rise over run to find the slope of the line. We're going to determine the coordinates of one of the points in the line. It doesn't matter which one. And then we're going to fill in the blank here. So I can use any 2 points. So the first step is find the slope. So I'm going to go up 1. So rise over run, up 1 is positive, And right 2 to get to my next point is also positive. So my slope is 1/2. I can plug that in already if I want to. Step 2, determine the coordinates of one of the points in the line. And we're going to actually, we're going to start with this one. So that point, that ordered pair, is 2, 2. If you're still having trouble writing the coordinates of a point, or if you're having trouble plotting points, you need to, let me help you, give you some extra practice. Go over it with you or something, if you really need to be able to do that skill. And now if we fill in the blanks, we've already filled in our slope. This is the y-coordinate, this is the x-coordinate. So the thing about if you're writing the equation of a line from a graph, we really could have an infinite number of points because we can use any point on the line. So we could have, just using these 3 points, we could have 3 different equations. And I want to show you the other 2 because the other 2 are special ones. So the slope is going to be the same no matter what. But we're going to plug in a different point. So it's always going to be 1/2 and this x times our x-coordinate, right? So we've already used this one. That one was 2, 2. Let's use this one. This ordered pair is 0, 1. If one of the coordinates is 0, it's going to be a special version of this point-slope form. So in this case, we're going to plug in y for the y-coordinate, because that's the y-coordinate of the ordered pair, and 0 in the x spot, because that's the x-coordinate. Now we can't leave this like this. That's not acceptable, even though that looks like that. If 0 is one of the coordinates, you're going to have a little bit of a variation on that form. So x minus 0 is x, and 1/2 times x is 1/2 times x. So while that doesn't quite look like our y minus y equals our slope times x minus x, this is a special one because one of the coordinates are 0. Which brings us to our other one. So it's possible instead of the x-coordinate being 0 that our y-coordinate can be 0, as in this example. In this example, this ordered pair is -2, and we don't go up at all, so -2, 0. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to give ourselves the same blanks to fill. Our slope is still going to be the same. That part is never changed, no matter how many versions of that equation you write, or equations of that line you write. But now, the y-coordinate is 0, the x-coordinate is -2, and now we can't leave it like that. There's a couple of things wrong. We can't leave the 0 here, and we can't leave a minus a negative. So y minus 0 is just y, and that's going to be 1/2 times x plus 2. So it doesn't look exactly like our y minus y equals m times x minus x, but that is still in point-slope form. That is just what it looks like if one of the coordinates of our point is a 0. And I think actually that is where I stopped or started on in class. So this is part 1. Don't forget to watch part 2. Have a great day.